Flint and Company begin their assault on Nassau, an island of true friends and mortal enemies, and nothing in between. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's the final season, oh my god, the final season of Black Sails, Season 4, Episode 1, 29. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome back to the return of Black Sails. Oh, I've been so waiting forward to this. So, there's gonna be spoilers. You have your warning. All right, let's go. All right, so, like I said, really been looking forward to it, and I couldn't even tell how much I had looked forward to this until the credits started rolling and the music started going in the title sequences and my heart just started racing, and yeah, we are back. Very excited. Of course, personally, very bummed that this is the last season. This is such a great show with incredible writing, cinematography, lighting, everything that's involved in this. The production value and quality in this show is just over the top, and that was definitely shown in tonight's episode as well. But anyway, it's kind of bittersweet that it's the end. However, we're gonna have 10 episodes of amazing stuff this season, so let's dive right into it. Overall, again, a great episode. Really, we are setting things up. In some ways, story-wise, there's not a whole lot to cover in depth, because what we're doing is, again, we are setting the pieces up. Perfect for an opening for the season. Really bringing us forward story-wise of where we were. We're starting the assault on Nassau. We've got the pirates all together. We got Woods and Eleanor setting up their defense. And then, of course, Billy Bones working the island, doing kind of, you know, the behind the scenes, just separating everything up. And it's sort of in a beautiful sense. We find out later on how much it's just Woods has, Nassau has the city itself, and Billy and the rest of the pirates have the whole rest of the island that they have taken over. So sides have definitely really been drawn in this conflict. And of course, this is really just all that we are sort of discovering throughout this episode. The opening sequence, amazing. Just a beautiful, beautiful combat sequence. Great ship-to-ship combat. You know, we were expecting a lot out of the Battle of Nassau, and it certainly did not go as planned as either we were expecting it, or more to the point as Flint and Silver and everyone were expecting it on their side. Woods having time to set a trap, and because of the time that they've had on the island, is either captured or killed anybody that is against him, or they've been driven off into the interior of the island. The rest of the town, like we said before, is all controlled by Woods. So Featherstone's betrayal of Flint, he was supposed to send the message off from Billy to let them know not to enter the port, don't enter the bay. But that wasn't sent. That was part of the betrayal. So as Woods says later on in the episode, I think rather poignantly, and as we open up this little bit, that Nassau is now an island of true friends and mortal enemies and nothing in between. The sides really are drawn that cleanly, that black and white. So it's kind of good in that sense. We don't have a whole lot of gray area that we have to worry about. However, that does set up some very big sides to be going after each other. But the battle itself, like I said, just really went down. Very visceral as everything happens. And that's a nice thing that they have done with the cinematography. Really feel close to all of the action. So as the cannonballs are flying through and the ship's getting splintered and people are being hit by cannonballs and debris and flushed in the water, just really amazing done. The underwater shots, I have to say, really were impressive. Like I said, their lighting and cinematography in this show is really stellar, is really top notch. And that underwater photography, even from that opening sequence, that opening bit where we see Silver coming down trapped inside the ropes, and just as the camera hits him and moves around and pans back up into the light, and then we're seeing the ships and the blood pouring in. Really just a beautiful way of setting the scene, letting us know where we are, what is happening, without, again, telling too much of the story. It's that visual storytelling that they're really good at. But that scene is reflective of course, Flint's little story with Silver. And this is sort of, again, this is the setup that we are getting for probably at least a good chunk of the season, if not the season as a whole, is kind of the two of them, not necessarily going after each other, at least not initially, but in some ways fighting that feeling of how much they can accomplish together versus everyone else's insistence on really setting things up. In some ways, dismissing Flint and trying to pull Silver up. I thought it was really great when Silver is in bed with Maddie there and making that statement of, you know, the two of us together, Flint and Silver together, can accomplish anything. And to try and put one above the other seems to be a sort of betrayal. They've worked a lot of this back and forth throughout these first few seasons to really establish this very brotherly relationship, very kind of Cain and Abel in that sense, as the opening story it relates to them. But how much working together, how much more they can accomplish, and that separation is really going to ultimately cause problems, even if it seems in the short term to be a benefit. But everybody else is really willing to pull them apart, even immediately. I mean, Maddie is saying, hey, you shouldn't trust him. You've told me about Flint. He betrays everybody that gets close to him. Everybody dies around him. You are so much better. And this is feeding into that story that Billy Bones has set up to create the legend of Long John Silver, to motivate the rest of the pirates on Nassau on the island, to get them to you know, fuel this rebellion against England. This mythology is being created really, as Billy sets up in that scene with Flint in Flint's old house. I believe that was. They didn't really show a whole lot, but I think going after the pottery, the way that he was reacting, that felt like that was Flint's old house. And little memories of Miranda there. We miss her. Anyway, but that discussion between the two of them, how Billy is really saying, I mean, he doesn't like Flint as it is. He has his issues, we know that. I mean, that's been set really since season 1. And this is now Billy stepping into his own. He has led the rebellion. He has led the insurgency on the island. And that's why he's saying these are his men. They have followed him. If they're not going to follow Silver, the mythical pirate king that Billy has sort of weaved into existence, then they'll follow Billy, but they will definitely not follow Flint. And that scene is also actually really kind of interesting in the sense of, yes, we have Flint and Billy going after each other, but we also have Flint starting that idea, you know, just setting that idea of the hidden treasure, where he says, you know, not far from here, there's a treasure hidden, only I know where it is, and a few other people, and I may be the last one alive. Of course, Silver is still alive, so no, this isn't going to be the treasure island location. Everybody kind of knows this idea, at least where the island is. But it's setting that idea that this is a card that Flint is willing to pay. And so you can see how later on, if this is going to be the basis of the treasure for Treasure Island, which is the idea that we have here, that Flint certainly is capable of taking the treasure, hiding it, and putting it in a position so that he has a bargaining chip. He is more than willing to use that over the men, even though they really deserve a right to that, which of course then follows up why Long John Silver later on in Treasure Island has such an obsession for it, is really feeling that he is owed that. But in that scene also we see where Maddie is stepping up, and we see kind of a whole other through line that happens throughout this episode, is the idea of these strong women. I mean, they've done really well in this show of establishing strong women. Eleanor, Max, Maddie, I mean, all of the women, Anne, all of the women are serious kick-ass women. But in this, there's also that they are supporting, in this episode really, it's showing how much of these strong women are supporting the men that they love, the men that they are dedicated to, but are not dependent upon it. And that love and support does not mean that they are unwilling to speak their minds. The scene between Maddie and Flint on the beach when they are waiting for Silver, you know, they are cluing into each other how they are feeling and how that dedication is. And Maddie is definitely not afraid to let Flint know that she doesn't trust him, that it's Silver that she has been putting her trust in. It's Silver, the one that she is following and kind of raising that army for. Flint might have had the idea, but it's Silver who is, you know, it's Silver's the one that she's trust, that she is willing to make that commitment for. Then we even have Eleanor with Woods. Eleanor there, again, from the very opening, willing to say, hey, do I have to go hide in the women to be there? Is that going to be the best thing for you? Great, that's what I will do. I have told you that I'm going to do whatever it is that needs to be done. And later on, when Woods is telling about all of his financial problems and the stress that's involved in with that, Eleanor is still right there, understanding, okay, this is the way that your ex-wife was, and this is what she wants to do. I have power too. My family does have influence. Now, I'm assuming that she's talking more about the trades bit and the pirates, because well, their family that she had is her dad, and he is dead. So family-wise, not the same. I think she's talking more about that extended idea. And then, of course, we have Anne Rackham. And she is very much supporting Jack's pursuit of, vengeance for Vane. Hashtag vengeance for Vane. And willing to support that, willing to go with it, but also willing to watch that line and say, hey, I love Vane too, but I'm not ready to die for a dead person. He's gone. And if he was alive, he would do all of these great things, but he's gone. Let us not follow that path on the idea of supporting a dead man, of gaining the favor of a dead man. I thought was beautifully well done. So all of these, we have a lot of very strong women. I mean, even Max for that moment, with her dedication in with Woods and backing him in the sacrifices that she has made, she's also willing to stand up and say, hey, I'm backing you, but I've got to get paid. And I've got to be able to show that I have respect in the rest of this town. So supporting, but not quiet. Willing to stand up, willing to say what it is. So it's got all of these strong characters. Just, again, the writing in this show is so incredibly tight. There is not a scene wasted. There's not any statements wasted. Was extremely well done, and just setting up these different armies. Yeah, you have the men that are going after each other, and then you have these strong women supporting the men, but not needing them, and certainly not willing to just kowtow to their desires and pursuits, but really supporting them in the idea of slapping them in the face if they get out of line. And that's exactly what, again, getting back to our original statement, why Maddie makes that statement to Flint and Billy in the room about the treasure and about this whole battle and the whole war is she has commands of people, and she is going to be willing to make her mind up and go in the direction and follow the people that she feels will best achieve her ends, regardless of what the battling men there want themselves. All right, and just a couple of quick things. One, obviously a certain amount of time has passed between seasons 3 and season 4. We don't know how much, but it seems to be a lot and maybe a little inconsistent. The idea, I thought, at the end of season 3, when they defeated the English on the Maroon Island, was to then set themselves up, go and attack Nassau and do it while they were weak. But a lot of time's passed, certainly long enough for the English naval commander to decide to take the fleet back to England. Also apparently enough time for Woods and Eleanor to get married. They weren't married last season. I don't remember that. Looked it up, I tried to review. I don't recall them getting married. But not only did they get married, but he notified his ex-wife. His ex-wife was able to make moves to the creditors to put him in a bad position, and then word for that to get all the way back to Nassau. It's not a fast trip from the New World to the Old World back in the 17th century. So I don't know how much time, again, has passed. It feels like months. Certainly it's long enough for Billy to have worked out. Man, he's like, Billy was cut, because he's been working hard in that island. So a certain amount of time has passed. I wish they'd kind of clue us in. I like the idea of just throwing us into the current time period and letting us catch up and setting the ideas and hints about how long has passed. It really seems like that's a really long time for the pirates on Mondo to prep for their assault on Nassau before now. Anyway, it just seems like a lot of time. That kind of grabbed me. Not sure if you caught any similarity there between Beringer, the English military commander, and our dear old Captain Flint. But Beringer is played by Chris Larkin, who is Toby Stephens' real Axe brother. So we have 2 children of Dame Maggie Smith on the show. Kind of nice. Also, did like, again, while detestable act, I did appreciate the bits of torture that Berenger was doing to the pirate captives, not because I like torture, but it is appropriate for the time. As much as Woods is talking about establishing civilization in Nassau, in the New World, civilization at the time, not quite so civil as we expect. So this is appropriate for the time. It's always nice to have this little bit. But, ow, the ear? In the same vein, do appreciate the fact that they're doing trials. I mean, obviously they're just quick little trials that are heading right to Hangsman, as Eleanor had sort of implied. Voracious appetites, I think, with food, but also with the killing. So, kind of nice they're at least pretending to do trials. That's something. I love that idea that Woods is putting. At least we are civil before we execute these people. Though, as Berenger showed, not that civil. Teach has apparently developed some respect for Rackham, and I only really say that because as Rackham is cruising across Teach's ship there and commanding everyone, prepare the guns, as soon as we get in line, we're going to attack in this direction and look for this. He's doing very much first officer stuff there. That is a level of respect that Teach has to be granting to Rackham. So, kind of appreciate that. And lastly, man, Silver just can't catch a break. Really, an amazing journey throughout this episode for Silver, being pulled down, finally escaping and swimming up into the ship. Nice scene with the goat. Another one of that, just when I was talking about cinematography, the use of the heartbeat in there to accelerate the time running out as it quickens and quickens, I thought was just beautifully done. And then when he gets finally on land and there's someone with a torch that he feels he's got to get away from because they're stabbing people on the shore. So while that does end up being a pirate buddy of his, I'm assuming so, looked very piratical, I do have to say maybe next time in the future, Silver, don't make so much noise when you're trying to get away. I know you're exhausted, man, but you were just fuck. Anybody within like a quarter mile, I think, could have heard you. So, shh, quiet when we're escaping pirates. Or English. Or anyone on a beach. Shh. So, that is it for tonight's episode. So, where we leave, we've got the pirates stationed on Nassau. Looks like Silver is finally going to get back to them, and the English hold up in the city. So, we've got our 2 sides set up to go to battle. So, this season, gonna be a lot of killing, a lot of pirating, and I'm sure quite a bit of gold. So, looking forward to all of that. Now, if, like myself and Captain Rackham, you too are missing your vein, never fear, Zach McGowan will be on this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's Tuesday night, 10 o'clock on ABC. So if you need your little Zach McGowan fix, that is a great place to catch it. I know 100 is coming back in a week or so, and he did show up some episodes last season. He might be back. I don't know for sure, but he is definitely going to be on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So if you need your Zach, that's the place to catch him. All right, so if you did enjoy this review, please go ahead and hit that like button. Comments in the section below. Are you really looking forward to this season? Same as I. Are you saddened that it's going to be the last? I know, it's a bummer. And what is it that you're expecting? How do you think this is all going to play out? Throw those down in the comments section below. Now, you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram at Darren Jakes. There it is right there. But why miss anything? Come back, see all the reviews, see the rest all of this season, catch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and also we have Legion coming up in another week or so. So that's going to be really exciting. Really looking forward to that. And you can catch all that by clicking my little face right there. That's the subscribe button, okay? And I will throw up the latest review that we have right over here. Other than that, I'm going to say goodnight for the week. So I am D, and I am out of here. You guys take it easy. Bye-bye.